Talking about neutral, and
Hmm.
I'm not really sure what that is. The neutral game.
Neutral game. So neutral game. This is for you guys in chat. Neutral game is this. This is neutral. 100% neutral, right? But kidding aside, neutral is like, as a definition, if you will, is really a situation where both players are, neither of them have advantage, and they're both standing up, and neither of them is necessarily cornered, right? So that's my take on my take on the last part is that I think that if you are cornered in this game, you're at a disadvantage. It's still neutral though, technically. Like the barest definition would be both players are standing up like this, right? I
Yeah,
think what people think about for neutral is what they really mean is footsies, right? Like, oh, footsies, that's the neutral
yeah,
game, right? Footsies, right? With punishing, that type of thing. And I think that at Diamond and even at Lower Master, like the concept of footsies isn't quite there yet, right? So like if we take a step back and think about why you need footsies, right? Why do we play this footsies based like neutral game? Everyone talks about, like, you watch Punk play, he lands these crazy ass whiff punishes, and everyone's like, oh, he has godlike footsies neutral. What's actually happening, right? What's actually happening is your opponent or you are able to check and stop all of the BS coming in, right? So if I'm Ken and I want to approach, right? Let's say I don't understand. I've never heard of footsies before in my life. Right? I have no idea what neutral is. What would I do? Jump, right? Dragon Lash, Drive Rush, right? Like, the tools you have in this game allow you to do all those things, and none of them involve the crouching medium kick drive rush, right? None of them involve quote unquote footsies, if you will, right? And you can play this game this manner very, very effectively, right? And if you look at like what people complain about on Twitter and Reddit and all that, it's like, oh, this move right here is bullshit, right? Or this is bullshit, right? Or this is bullshit, right? But in reality, what should be happening is you as a player need to be able to check all those things, right? So you need to be able to DP the jump in, right? You need to be able to deal with the Dragon Lash coming in, right? So if I change this up, set Ken in here, right? And I'm gonna have him. I'm just gonna take one of my slots here, and I'm gonna have him jump at me, right? So I'm gonna record this. I'm gonna jump in, right? So what do you do here, right? So if someone is doing that, right, they're jumping, right? That's the response, right? They jump, you DP them, right? Like that's the response, right? So you're able to do that. Like, I missed it there, obviously, but if you're able to do that, it takes away the ability to jump, right? Similarly, if I do something like this, right, right, I take away their ability to drive rush, right? Oh, he's not set to, right? See what I mean though? Like, he can't, if he can't drive rush in with a stand heavy punch now and it gets checked,
yeah,
you take away that option, right? And then similarly for everything else and everyone else's movement in the game, right? I can't Dragon Lash, I can't do Bison Scissor Kicks, I can't do any of those quote unquote neutral skips that everyone talks about, right? Once you start being able to check those things, either the person has to stop doing them because it's not working, or you kill them, right? Because they won't stop, whatever. But if they can't do those things anymore, what can they do now, right? So that's when you start seeing this type of stuff, right? You're lowering the risk on your end because it's very hard to like check this stuff, right? And you start doing stuff like this instead because, if you jump in, you'd get DP'd. If I drive rush in, I'd get checked, and if I try to do Dragon Lash or whatever, it gets handled and dealt with, right? So when you talk about neutral game and the footsies game that comes in that, footsies is a response to both players being able to check the other player's neutral skips and BS tools, right? Because now if I do the jump in and I know my opponent's good at anti-airing, this option is completely gone to me now, right? I can't jump anymore, right? If I jump, I'm gonna take damage every time, right?
yeah.
I can't do anything about that necessarily. Yeah, I could try to bait it or whatever else, but I can't just jump in for free anymore, right? So that's why footsies becomes a thing, is because it is one of the only ways to get a situation where you now score a knockdown, right? So the classic footsies thing is the whiff punish, right? So like you see someone doing this, right? and then you do your crouch medium kick, it's out of range, and then they hit you with theirs, and you all of a sudden it's a full combo, right? So like that getting to that level of the game requires you to be able to do all the other stuff first, right? You need to be able to stop them from attempting to do those other quote unquote neutral skips in the first place, right? So that when you think neutral game in footsies, I think especially at Diamond, I think people get too caught up in the footsies aspect and like, oh, I want to play the game quote unquote properly. Well, you are playing the game properly, right? If this isn't cheating, right? This is allowed by the game. So is this, right? And so is this, right? Like these things are allowed by the game. Like the game allows you to do them, right? So it's not anything necessarily wrong. It's just that you're not able, you know, as soon as you start checking these things, that's when now you get to play this footsie like neutral game thing where people are doing this stuff, right? Trying to get you to press buttons.